Good morning, Steve. How are you doing today?
Pretty good, Melanie, and yourself?
Pretty good, thank you.
Good. Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, it was very active. I spent a lot of time outdoors, just in
Good.
awesome wonder of all the beautiful colors out
Yeah.
there, and collecting things as I went walking. Just because fall is such a beautiful time of the year that, I just really wanted to involve myself with all my senses, seeing it,
Yes.
hearing it,
Yeah.
smelling it, touching it. Yeah. How about
Oh, yeah.
you?
It was good. I did the same thing. I visited some friends, which again is different, right? There's different ways of visiting people, and
Yeah.
and then I spent a lot of time in the yard,
Oh,
raking
great.
leaves and being outside. It was just one of those weekends where you needed to take advantage of that.
Yes. It's, after the last weekend with the smoke and the fires, I mean, this weekend was clear and fresh and warm, and it was just
Mhm.
so nice to take a big, huge, deep breath in the
Yes,
middle
it
of
was a
all that.
beautiful autumn day.
It really was. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was good.
I wanted to ask you, we've been going through this pandemic for about 8 months now.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's been this long. And I wondered for you if there's different routines, different activities, how has your life changed and how are you continuing to live in that change?
Well, Well, I think there's been lots of changes. Some I think are a result of COVID, right, that I've had to change.
Yeah.
But some of the changes have me sort of willingly making changes in my life. Maybe a little bit because of COVID, but also I think just me reflecting upon different pieces of my life. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, our social life has changed an awful lot.
Yeah.
We're not so apt to be going out to coffee shops and stuff like that anymore.
Yeah.
So there's certain things, rituals that we would do on the weekend, say, get together with people, friends for coffee.
Yeah.
Now what we do is we have a tendency to invite people over for coffee,
Mm-hmm.
people over for drinks, or
Yeah.
so there's that change. How you engage socially with people, I think, has changed. It's changed for me an
Absolutely.
awful lot.
Yeah.
There's that piece. I think the piece that I really noticed for me is I'm very conscious about using my time in a really positive fashion. So being outdoors is something
Yeah.
because of COVID that I've been doing way more than I've ever used to.
Me too.
So, like for instance, after I raked the leaves on Sunday, I sat down outside and read a book
Nice.
and did it outside because it's just a nice thing to do. So I think those things have changed an awful lot for me.
Yeah.
Um, how I go outside and participate in activities. So there's been lots of changes.
Yeah.
But again, some of the positive ones actually is that I pay more attention to my body a lot more and to my mind.
Yes.
So I'm a lot more selfish about checking in with myself and kind of pampering myself without
Yeah.
feeling guilty.
Good for you.
I think that's the key, right? Is not to feel guilty about doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think that's, because it is what it is, right? I mean, we don't know how long this is going to last.
That's right.
So we need to, like, I think just start making these changes and accept them.
Yeah.
Look at the positives though.
Yeah. And a lot of people might have the thought that these changes are temporary and that any moment now we can go back to the old way of doing things, back to our normal, and just forget that, any of this happened.
Uh,
And I really feel like that is possibly a form of non-acceptance, or in other words, not accepting what's
yes.
really going on and what, the path forward, not moving on with the way things have been going, but rather resisting, not wanting to believe that what is happening, and wanting to just go right back to pretending it never existed.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But Steve, when you tell me about these things that you've changed because of coronavirus, and that you continue to do those things, and that you and your family have adapted that way and actually started to enjoy that new way of being, to me, that speaks of your ability to accept what is in our world right now.
Yeah, and I think that's, part of it, I think, is that self preservation. Like I think we really need to work hard at maintaining a positive outlook.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, there's big changes that, we're not necessarily comfortable with, like wearing our masks. I
Yes.
have to be quite honest with you, I don't like wearing a mask.
Right.
So that's actually changed, what I do, right? I don't go shopping as much as I used to. I don't just
Yeah.
leisurely go for a stroll in the mall.
Yes.
I think about whether or not I actually want to do it because you have to do all these precautions. So I think that's a positive thing.
Yeah. You know,
Consumerism, I think, has declined an awful lot. And I think that's a good thing for people.
I do too. It's a shift in our values from
Yes.
consumerism, going out and shopping
Yeah.
and buying all the time,
Yeah.
to spending time with nature, people, our hobbies,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I even noticed with my son Noah, when he goes out with friends, before they'd always sort of get together and they just kind of hang out, but now he plans it a lot more. So now
Ah,
he's a lot more selective. So, he
right.
might visit 2 or 3 of his buddies one day and the next visit 2 different people.
Yeah.
And so even our trips and our social engagements, we put more thought into it. And we don't take it for granted as much either.
Yes.
And I think that spills off that we don't take people for granted
Yeah.
because it takes way more effort and planning to actually go visit people.
It sure does. Yes. To go anywhere, really, to go
Yeah,
anywhere outside of our home, it takes a lot more
yeah,
planning and thought,
yeah,
and careful, taking those precautionary
yeah.
steps to make sure that we're safe. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's just part of accepting it, right? It's just recognizing that, there's certain
Yeah.
stuff we have to do from now on. That's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah. Steve, and I think there's a big difference between accepting it and just knowing that it is what it is, and I'm just going to, do what I can.
Yeah,
And the other, or between that and, I hate this. I don't like this. I don't want to do anything different. I just want it to
yeah,
go back to what it was. And I come across a lot of folks who are really struggling with this, and reasonably so. I mean, I get it, or at least I, understand as much as possible that this coronavirus has put people in a really tough situation. I mean, people are more lonely than ever before. They're more
yes,
isolated than ever before. They're struggling with getting basic resources. They don't have, the people available to them to support them through, life, everyday life, like the way they used to. So this has been a really difficult time for people. And
oh, absolutely.
I've heard so many people say, Melanie, I hate the coronavirus. I just hate it. And I just want it to go away.
Hmm.
And yeah, me too. I mean, I would just wish that it would go away or it wouldn't have happened at all. And yet here it is.
Hmm.
And it takes more energy sometimes to hate it and to avoid it and deny it and fight against it than it does to just be able to say, okay, whew,
Absolutely.
here it's a reality, and how can I just get through it?
Yeah.
So there's a strategy that may come in very helpful for folks. And that strategy is from Marsha Linehan, who put together the Dialectical Behavioral Therapy protocol or way of doing things. And that strategy is called radical acceptance.
Okay.
And it's called radical acceptance because it's radical and it's tough to do, but it is possible.
Okay.
So radical acceptance is knowing that, like acknowledging, I don't like this. It's not even fair. Like I shouldn't even have to put up with this, but I've done all I can to control the pieces that I can control. And the
Okay.
rest I can't control. And it's here and it is what it is. And so I just need to accept it, to put an acceptance attitude or accepting attitude towards it and ride it out.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
radical acceptance is not denying it or avoiding it, saying it's not important. Um, it's not any of those things. It's actually just coming to terms with it is what it is. And in order for me to have less suffering in this situation, it's easier or it's better, more healthy for me to open myself up to allowing it in and riding with the wave.
Okay.
instead of trying to fight against it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What
Yeah,
thoughts?
it's funny you use the word wave. So I often chat with people. It's sort of like when you go surfing, right? Once you commit
Yes.
yourself to that wave,
Yes.
you just, the only thing left to do, no matter if it's a good wave or not, is just ride it through.
That's right.
And so that's something I learned in surfing, right? You can wait for the best wave to come, but it could be forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the same thing with life, right? I mean, we just sometimes you just got to ride what you're given, and that's the best thing to do. And for me, that's a stress reliever.
Yeah. You
It's
know,
just that acceptance.
yeah, I have a very vivid memory of being caught in a wave, a pretty forceful wave in Hawaii quite a few years ago. And I was pretty scared because I felt my arm hit the sand, and
Yeah,
I was afraid of a breakage. And I remember just rolling with it. I really didn't
yeah,
have any other choice, actually. I just rolled with it, and I was completely safe, scared, but completely safe. Whereas I think if I had braced myself, if I had fought
yes,
against the wave, I would have broken something because the tension in my body would have created a force against the
yeah.
wave, and something would have cracked.
Mhm.
So really, the more flexible we can be with these difficult situations in our life, the more we can bend with the discomfort and the difficulties, the more that we'll come out, just as well as
Yeah.
when we went in.
Yes, relatively unscathed. Absolutely. I totally
Right.
agree with that. I think sometimes that's a good way to describe it is just go with the flow, just go with it
Yeah.
because you have no control. So
Yeah.
I've been in that situation where I've been underwater and the waves been tossing about and it can be frightening at first. You think, oh my goodness, this is like being in a washing machine.
Yes.
But if you relax and
Right.
just let it wear out, then pretty soon you'll float to the surface. And yeah,
Because the wave ends, doesn't it, Steve?
yeah, it does.
The wave
Eventually, it does.
loses its power eventually, and you wash up on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with these waves and this turbulence in our life. It will end.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're like waves of emotion, aren't they?
Yes. Yes.
There's
Waves
just
of
one set after another. And it's sort of like, we just need to like be positive about it. And I
yeah.
think people are more accepting. And I think sometimes people aren't accepting because they don't know,
Yeah. And they're afraid.
right? Because they're not getting those concrete answers. And that's why I think that stresses people out is not having that answer that this is going to last for another year exactly.
Yes, exactly. That it
2022 will be a much better year.
yeah,
But nobody can say that because we don't know.
yeah. And yet, remember the last two videos we did together, people are going to fill in the blanks with fortune telling,
Yeah.
catastrophizing,
Yes.
emotional filter,
Yeah.
all those unhelpful thinking habits, which will then just cause them to come to an idea of what it's going to look like when they have no real basis or evidence for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. We don't. We have the
No,
faintest idea what it's going to look like.
that's right. We haven't the faintest. Nobody does.
Yeah.
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 So in this time, especially this season of our year where we're going into fall, we're going into, well, apparently we're already in a second wave of COVID-19.
Mm.
We're going into flu and cold season, not to mention we're going into another American election season. There's so much happening right now. This is the time when we can practice radical acceptance to just ride that wave through and get to
Yeah.
the other side, relatively, like you said, as unscathed as possible.
Yes. I think that's a good plan.
Yeah. So how do we do this? Well, let's do a mindfulness based
Okay.
on radical acceptance. I'm going to make it up as I go along, but basically it's just a way to to identify and acknowledge those feelings that are causing some resistance inside of us, and then imagining making room for those inside of our bodies, like in a physical space as well as an emotional space, and just allowing it to be as it is without judgment.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do that. Let's get into a comfortable position, feet on the floor or feet against something solid so that we're feeling grounded during this activity. Eyes open or eyes closed, whatever is comfortable for you. We'll focus first on our breath as the anchor of our awareness, the anchor to our present moment. And so I'll invite you to just breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And not changing your breath in any way, just allowing it to be as it is. You may notice the breath as it comes into your body, noticing it for its temperature, whether it's cool or warm, whether it's strong or weak, soft or rough. Just noticing it in an objective kind of way, not judging, not concerned, just as it is. Noticing how on the in-breath, the breath or the air comes through your nose, down your throat, through your chest, and all the way down to your belly. And it might even fill your belly up like a big balloon, lifting your hands above. And then when you breathe out, your belly flattens. The breath goes through your belly, your chest, your esophagus, your throat, and again out your mouth. And as you keep breathing, noticing any changes that might happen to your breath. Do you notice if your breath gets longer, deeper, softer? Whatever you notice, that's exactly the way it needs to be for you. That is your experience. No need to change it or judge it. Just allowing it to be what it is. And any time that thoughts, distractions, emotions pass through your mind, taking that as an invitation to acknowledge what's happening, acknowledging those thoughts or the emotions or physical sensations, and then gently coming back to your breath, back to your anchor, to your present awareness, to being in this space with yourself, right here in this moment. Now imagining a struggle that you're having right now, something that's been on your mind, perhaps causing some discomfort, some concern. Could be a problem, an experience, a feeling, a news event. Whatever it is, just taking a moment to look at that experience. Trying to look at it like an outside observer. Noticing what it looks like, what it feels like. Remembering the experience that you had and how you felt at that time. And as you're thinking about that experience, that problem, that feeling, whatever's going on for you, as you're imagining it, do a bit of a scan of your body from the tip of your head to the tip of your toes. And notice what part of your body is responding. As you think of that situation or that experience that's concerning you, is there a part of your body that is triggered, that starts to respond? Maybe it's an achy feeling, a tingling, a crampy feeling, or just a knowing, just a and knowing that that part of your body is being triggered. Explore that part of your body a little more. Notice what's happening in that part of your body. And you might find again that you're distracted by thoughts, emotions, or even just blanking out. If that's so, you can go back to your breath and just focus in on your breath. Or go back to the experience that we started with in this mindfulness. Back to the experience that triggered the feelings, the sensations, and then re-finding that part of your body that's been triggered or is responding. And just exploring that part of your body for how it feels. Perhaps if an image of that part of your body comes to mind. Is there a color that appears? And as you focus in on that part of your body that relates to your concern, your worry, your experience, your feeling, does it change? Is there anything that changes for you as you work through that part of you? Notice any patterns of resistance. Notice any urges to avoid, deny, stuff back in. Even losing focus or blanking out can be a way that your body is resisting. And that's okay. Perhaps now is not the time to be working through these things. You can come back to this mindfulness at any time. You can go back to your breath. Go back to the experience that began this mindfulness. Whatever feels comfortable for you. But if you can stay with that part of your body, imagine that with each in-breath, that breath of air can fill your body more and more. And imagine that breath of air moving into that part of your body, perhaps bringing more space to it, or healing, or acceptance. Whatever you feel that part of your body needs from you. Imagine that with each in-breath, you're bringing more and more breath of air into that part of your body, expanding it, making space for it. And allowing that feeling, that experience, that part of that whatever's taking space up in your body, allowing it to just be there. Considering what changes might happen if you allow that to be there in that space, to accept it as it is, without judgment, as it is right now. Imagining knowing that it is your experience, and there's no need to judge it, that it can remain here as long as it needs to be here. And as you stay with that visualization, that feeling, seeing if anything changes. How does your body change? How does your breath change? If there are no changes, That's completely fine. Your experience is your experience. And this experience doesn't have to end here. You can always come back to this moment if you need more. Just accepting what's happening right now as it is, whatever that looks like for you. Taking a few more breaths. Breathing into that part of your body if you want to, if you feel comfortable doing so. And as we prepare to leave this place, you may want to spend a moment asking that part of your body what it needs from you. Or consider connecting with that part of your body in a different way. Or just feeling the changes, if any, that have aroused in you or have arisen in you as a result of spending this time with your experience. So taking a few more breaths and a few more moments right here, right now, with whatever's happening for you. And preparing to leave this place. Filling ourselves with more and more awareness of this room that we're in. Maybe listening more attentively to the sounds around us. Moving in ways that are feeling comfortable to us. Feeling more and more the environment around us, the chair, the floor, the bed that we're seated on. And then as we're ready, opening our eyes slowly and coming back to this room and to this discussion.
That was good.
Yeah. You know what I really liked about that mindfulness was the silence.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes just sitting in silence with ourselves and not feeling like we have to fill up the gaps all the time can be really helpful.
Yes.
It doesn't come naturally to me though.
Being silent or being surrounded by silence?
Being silent with myself,
Right.
as, or with other people, being here with you in this video. Being silent doesn't come naturally. I feel like, well, come on, get on with it. Let's keep going. But
Yeah.
it can be so powerful to just sit and be in silence.
Yes.
What do you think?
Well, I think that sort of goes hand in hand with checking out
Yeah.
almost, right? And so when I think of checking out, the physical action is sort of checking out and just being silent and quiet and just,
Yes.
yeah, I call it the sound of silence.
Sound of
It's
silence.
a real sound to silence, right? It's all encompassing.
Yeah.
You kind of feel like it washes just over you.
Have you ever been to a silent retreat? There's silent retreats out there where people spend
Yes,
days in silence.
yes, yes. I used to have a colleague that used to go for 3 or 4 days of silence. Yeah,
Maybe one of these days we should do a mindfulness of silence.
yes. I think that would be a good idea.
That would push me out of my comfort zone, but that would be great.
Well, we've often chatted about how our lives have become really hectic again, right?
Yeah.
Full, noisy, and so maybe part of mindfulness is having that silence to go with it.
All right. Well, we're going to have to do that now that we've
Yeah.
proclaimed it on the video.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Steve, wishing you many more moments of silence this week where you
Yes.
can just check out and rejuvenate and refresh.
All right. Take care riding that wave, hey?
Yeah, thank you. I'll try not to get washed under.
Okay,
Take
we'll
care,
talk to
Steve.
you.
You
Bye-bye.
betcha. Bye-bye.